Hello everyone, I'm Joan Entmacher, Vice President for Family Economic Security with the National Women's Law Center. Thank you for joining us today in this sweltering heat to stand in solidarity with the more than 3 million Americans whose unemployment insurance benefits have been cut off. This is the second in a series of Witness Wednesdays organized by the Center for Effective Government, the National Women's Law Center, the National Employment Law Project, and the Coalition on Human Needs that brings together members of Congress and a diverse group of advocates and community leaders to read a few of the thousands of stories sent in by these jobless workers. We are here to make their voices heard and to demand that those in Congress who have been blocking action restore federal emergency unemployment benefits. We extend our special thanks to Representative Jan Schakowsky of Illinois and her Chief of Staff, Kathy Hurwitz, for organizing today's event, and the other members of Congress who will be with us today, including Representatives Donna Edwards of Maryland, Gwen Moore of Wisconsin, Dina Titus of Nevada, Barbara Lee of California, and Eleanor Holmes Norton of the District of Columbia. Today's event highlights the impact of long-term unemployment on women and families. But before I tell one mother's story of how the loss of unemployment benefits is affecting her families, a little context and a few statistics from the report released today by the National Women's Law Center, which you can download from our website. You've heard about the 3 million. Here's another number to think about, 2.3 million. That's the number of children with a parent unemployed long-term in an average month last year. More than 1 in 3. That's the share of families with children and a parent unemployed long-term who fell into poverty. 4 in 10. That's the share of unemployed adult women and men who have been seeking work for more than 6 months on average, for 9 months. When it comes to long-term unemployment, there isn't a gender gap. And since state unemployment benefits typically last no more than 6 months, less in some states, the loss of emergency unemployment benefits is a heavy blow for men and women and their families. But women and families are especially vulnerable because women earn less when they are employed, have less savings, and are far more likely to be single parents. But numbers don't convey what it means to be a single mother without a job or unemployment benefits. So I'm reading for Carrie from South Carolina. I am in jeopardy of losing my home. Even with a master's degree and steady employment since 1994, I have not been able to find a job. I have not only applied to jobs that require higher education, but minimum wage jobs as well. I have been told I am overqualified for some jobs and that I do not have enough work experience for others. Unless I am fortunate to find a job in the field I've worked in for the last 7 years, I am being overlooked by employers. I moved to South Carolina over a year ago with my 2 children and grandchild, and we are now facing the possibility of being homeless. We have no family here, so there is nowhere to turn. I want to work. I have been a single mother who has worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time while obtaining my master's degree. I was finally able to buy my first home last year, and I am going to lose it because I have no income any longer. I have used all of my retirement funds to stay afloat until now. I have worked since I was 14 years old, and now I cannot get the help I need to keep a roof over my family's head. Please do what you can to extend unemployment benefits. Carrie, we haven't forgotten you. We will stand with you and will fight to extend emergency unemployment benefits. And now, Representative Jan Schakowsky.
Thank you so much, Joan, and thanks to the National Women's Law Center for giving us those sobering numbers that highlight how women and families are so severely harmed by the failure to extend emergency long-term unemployment insurance benefits. Many of you have heard about the When Women Succeed, America Succeeds bus tour. I want to thank Donna Edwards for being one of the main organizers of that event. And what we were saying is that 2/3 of families with children rely on the woman in the household to either be the sole breadwinner or the indispensable co-breadwinner. And so, whoops, I want to talk about voices from Illinois, and in particular, I want to talk about Chris, who lives in my district in Glenview, Illinois, and she's pictured at the top right here. My husband and I will never recover financially and are praying we will not lose our home. I don't think I will ever be able to retire, which is concerning because I have health problems. My 28-year-old son is still living at home because he was unemployed for over a year and is now serving coffee for minimum wage. He has a BA degree from Loyola University, and between his student loans and our parent loans, we will all be in debt for the rest of our lives. We are not alone. I know so many who are struggling as we are. And we're here today to say to Chris and all of the 250,000 people who by the end of the year in Illinois will be without the benefits that they need for their family's basic needs. And I want to say to Chris and her family that you are not alone. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Ruth Martin from Moms Rising.
Hi, I'm Ruth with Moms Rising, and we're here today because Moms Rising has heard from moms across the country who have been negatively impacted by the expiration of unemployment insurance. Today I will share Moms Rising member Brenda's story. Brenda is from Missouri. I was laid off from my job when the pipe plant I worked for shut down. After that, I used up all of my savings to pay for mine and my kids' cost of living before I got unemployment. I thought for sure I would find another job fast, but that did not happen. I ended up moving into a cheaper studio apartment with my kids, and I pay rent by the week as I look for work every day. At night, I study for my GED in the hopes that when I get it, I might be able to find a job. I lost my unemployment insurance on December 28th, and I am afraid we will be homeless next month when the rent is due. I went from having a really good job and saving to buy my first home to looking at maybe being homeless in 2 weeks. We hear you, Brenda. We stand with you.
Representative Donna Edwards of Maryland.
Thank you very much, Joan, and thank you to Jen Schakowsky for pulling us here today, and for the National Women's Law Center, and in fact all of our advocates and friends across the country calling attention to the fact that long-term unemployment benefits have not been extended for the American people. The story that I'm about to share is one of tens of thousands of stories that are the reality for people throughout Maryland and across the country. The 82,600 people in Maryland who've already lost will lose benefits by the end of 2014. And if House Republican leadership doesn't act, thousands more in Maryland and 4.9 million across the country will also lose their emergency unemployment compensation by the end of the year, even as they continue to look for work. I want to share a story with you from Stephanie, who lives just not very far from here in Suitland, Maryland. Stephanie writes, I have 3 children under the age of 5, and my husband and I have been struggling for some time now. We lost our jobs last year due to them being contracted positions. We've been applying to jobs constantly, hoping to care for our 2 daughters, 2 of which have cystic fibrosis. We are unable to effectively feed them, buy necessary clothes for them, or even get the necessities we need to interview for new positions. I'm unable even to purchase stockings and appropriate shoes for interviews. My daughter's shoes are too small, and we stay in the house all the time so that their feet do not have to hurt when we're walking. I just want you to know we're not living off of welfare, nor are we aiming to be dependent on the system forever. We're facing hard times and just need the unemployment to help us weather the storm. Please vote to renew the unemployment, as our family, for now, depends on it. And so for Stephanie and for all of the longtime unemployed, it's time for the House Republican leadership. They have the capacity to do that. to allow a vote today on this very important issue so that we can support mothers like Stephanie and others around the country as they search for work. Thank you.
Britton Loftin from Restaurant Opportunity Centers United.
Hello, my name is Britton Loftin, and I work as the National Policy Coordinator for the Restaurant Opportunity Center United. I'm here because I too was once unemployed and can identify with the struggle, and I'm also here to raise awareness to the issues that affect restaurant workers. So I'll read Sandy's story from Pennsylvania, from York, Pennsylvania. I went back to school at the age of 42. After working as a waitress and bartender for most of my life, I realized as I got older, my physical abilities would be limited, and it was time for an occupation change. I wanted a job that allowed me to take vacation, to have benefits, to start building some retirement. I worked a full-time job, took care of a home and 3 children, and managed to work in time to study. In June of 2013, at 53, I was permanently laid off due to company downsizing due to a down economy. I have been diligent in my job search. As of today, I've sent out hundreds of resumes and only had a handful of interviews, and still no job. Cutting off the emergency unemployment has caused a major crisis for not only me, but millions of unemployed and their families. One income is now trying to pay the bills created when we had 2. We should not be waiting this long for our government to finally do something. We hear you, Sandy, and we stand with you.
Representative Dina Titus of Nevada.
Well, I'd like to thank my colleagues and all the advocates who are here today to help tell these stories. And I want to thank you for coming out to spread the word, because people need to hear the stories and need to retell them. I represent Las Vegas, which was very hard hit by the recession. The tourism industry tanked because people around the country didn't have money to go on holiday. This affected the service industry. Many women work in that service industry. I'd like to share the story of Patricia, who lives in my district. After working all my life, I got laid off in May 2013. I'm 52 years old and I've not been able to get a job, even though I've been actively seeking employment. I am at the end of my rope, financially and psychologically. I have lost everything. My car, my house, even my husband. The stress and devastation have even cost me my marriage of 30 years. It may not seem like much to some people, but the extension would have helped. Please stop the politics and do something. I wouldn't wish my nightmare on my worst enemy. Like I said, I am 52, have always worked, and have always paid my taxes. Please vote to extend unemployment benefits immediately. I am desperate and don't know where I will be living or eating in the next week. Please help. We need help. Yes, you do, and we're there to try to make you get that help. Thank you.
Randi Schmidt from the Children's Leadership Council.
Good afternoon. My name is Randi Schmidt, and I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Leadership Council, a coalition of organizations dedicated to improving the lives of our nation's children and youth. I'm here today because the CLC understands that one of the most important things our nation can do for its children is to support its parents. For unemployed parents, this means making sure they have unemployment benefits so they can put food on their family's table and keep a roof over their families' heads. On a personal note, I'm here today because my own father lost his job when I was a child. I still remember how scary that was, and I also remember asking, the very first question I asked my parents was, are we going to be homeless? I also remember how important unemployment insurance was to my family during that difficult time. So I'm here today to read the story of an unemployed single father named T from Louisville, Kentucky. I read it in honor of him, in honor of my own father, and in honor of all the unemployed parents who are struggling to provide for their children and who need unemployment insurance to help them. Because as the National Women's Law Center brief release today points out, the number of children living with a parent seeking work for 6 months or more has tripled tripled since the start of the recession. I quote, "I'm a single father of a 9-year-old little girl. Despite my work ethic and having graduated college, I never had a job that paid me enough to save. It was always paycheck to paycheck. Still though, because of my daughter, everywhere we moved, I had to get a 2-bedroom apartment, which of course far exceeded my income. In May of 2013, I was laid off from my job. 6 weeks passed between my last paycheck and my first unemployment check. In that time, my car was repossessed. Over the next few months, I depended on unemployment to soften the edges of the reality of being unemployed. Never able to catch up. And certainly never able to get ahead. The year came to a close with a very unmerry Christmas. Just to be clear, I don't gamble. I don't do drugs. I don't have a drinking problem. I don't have cable or the internet. My phone is 4 years old and is not compatible with current technology. The only special gift I can give to my daughter is a walk in the park, but with the winter we've had, even that's been impossible. I look for work all week, every week, on foot or online at the library. My gas and electric bill for January was $540. February's was $402. Neither have been paid, and March is on its way. I'm almost 4 months behind on rent and was evicted this week. I don't even have enough money to rent a storage space or a moving truck to get us out of here. I have no family or friends to ask. I've sold everything I can, but no longer have anything of value. My face has morphed into the scream face because of the constant worry. I don't remember the last time I smiled. I look at my daughter and try to cover up my pain. I see her and I worry about her because of her reputation with her schoolmates, knowing that kids can be so mean. If this extension isn't passed, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've worked hard since I was 14 years old, trying to find the American dream. But I see now there is no such thing. I was once a beacon of light for people that knew me. I practiced goodwill, peace, and fairness. Now no one even knows me. I am nothing now. I am as helpless as anyone I've ever seen. T, you are not alone, and you are someone. We stand with you, and we hear you. And I promise you, we will fight not just for unemployment insurance, but for the American dream for both you and your daughter, and for all the families out there with children. Thank you.
Representative Gwen Moore of Wisconsin.
I want to thank all of you for gathering here on this Witness Wednesday. I'm so glad to be joined by all of these advocates and groups, and certainly my colleagues, Representative Schakowsky and Titus, and the chair of the Women's Caucus, Donna Edwards. I am also happy to be here with Minister representing Milwaukee Inner City Churches Allied for Hope from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is serious. This is a real betrayal of the American trust. We have, since unemployment insurance was instituted, we have typically always given unemployment insurance, which started in Wisconsin, once the unemployment rate was at 5% or above, 5.3%. Now it's 6.3% nationally, and this Congress has failed to act. This is a women's issue, and the National Women's Law Center released their findings, and it especially has a terrible impact on women, especially women of color. Women are primary breadwinners in our economy, and they're primarily those who work for low wages, and they're primarily those who are suffering the most from unemployment. And of course, they're caretakers of our babies, of our children. I would like to just bring this home a little bit, because we talk about 9.8 million people who are going to be unemployed by the end of this year, and 99,000 Wisconsinites that will be impacted by and unemployed by the end of this year, a loss of $520 million to the Wisconsin economy. just like to bring it home. We've heard some of these stories. Maisha in Milwaukee writes, she's a mother of 2, and since her unemployment benefits expired, she has struggled to feed her kids. And she's becoming closer and closer and closer to homelessness. Her family is willing to help her out. As the government says, our families ought to help, but they're having it hard too. And she has to repay them because they're struggling as well. You know, it brings tears to her eyes to tell her kids that they can't have things that they need, like shoes. And it's been so hard to keep things afloat. She's a single mom, and she is begging us to help her. She's working hard to find a job, and most of the jobs are telling her that she is overqualified. She is begging us to please, please extend these unemployment benefits. I'm begging my colleagues to do this. This is a humanitarian. It's American. It is it's the way we can express our family values by extending unemployment insurance. It just doesn't make any sense for 9.8 million people to suffer. It's going to cost our economy 240,000 jobs this year. You know, and so it's not just a humanitarian effort. It is also hurting our economy, as we have no demand for goods and services because people don't have money. Let's do this. Let's get this done.
Amen. Representative Willie Brisco of Gamaliel African American Leadership Commission and MICA President.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Willie E. Brisco, minister from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am president of Milwaukee Inner City Congregations Allied for Hope. I am president of our national affiliate, Gamaliel, the African American Leadership Council. Our national director is here with us today, Anna Garcia Ashley. Our representative, Pastor Bigsby from Chicago, Metro Chicago, Gamaliel is here. Angela James, our state representative from Virginia, Gamaliel, is here. I come to you today to read the letter from Eileen from Sterling Heights, Michigan. Eileen says, I am 58 years old, office manager / bookkeeper with a disabled husband. His disability payments cover our bills such as rent, utilities, auto insurance, but that's it. There is no money for food, prescriptions, doctor's visits, my husband's therapy, household supplies, as simple as toilet paper, cleaning supplies, and importantly, gasoline, which I need to get job interviews. Although we may be able to maintain a roof over our heads, the fridge and the cupboards are empty. The gas tank is empty. My husband's health deteriorates daily without his heart medication. I can't afford the gas to go to church. So in other words, we have no life here. I have been diligently seeking employment. I have a strong resume and I have some job interviews, but there's so many much younger people than myself seeking the jobs that I'm finding it extremely difficult to compete. Due to my work history and qualification, it is impossible for me to secure even a cashier's job because those employers feel that I am overqualified. They advise they do not know what to talk to me about, the times that they take the time to train me, because as soon as something better comes along, I would leave. That's what they think. Yet I am 81, 2 years away from my retirement age. 81 and 2 years away from my retirement age. I feel as though I can't, in the abyss, too old to secure employment, in an office setting too young to draw my Social Security and retire. It is very hard to be optimistic for our future when the government is failing us. I need you to support the unemployment extension. I am not asking for a handout. I have worked 42 years of my life and paid into unemployment. Eileen, the Gamaliel Foundation hears your cry. We're with you. The God that we serve has not forgotten you. Do not dismay, do not despair. We are praying and we are fighting and we will get this done. Amen.
Sammie Moshenberg, National Council of Jewish Women.
Good afternoon. My name is Sammie Moshenberg, and I'm Director of Washington Operations for the National Council of Jewish Women, whose 90,000 members and supporters nationwide work to improve the lives of women, children, and families, just as we have since 1893. NCJW has too long, advocated for the extension of unemployment insurance. Not only is this a moral imperative, helping families in dire need, but it is an economic imperative, assisting communities whose economies have been hard hit because the lack of unemployment insurance has left families without money to spend even on basic necessities. I am here to read a story from Felicia in South Haven, Mississippi, and it's my honor to do so. Today is a hard day for me. It's April 11th, only 20 days till rent time again, and still nothing. I am a single mother of 3 adult children that I have raised solely on my income as a retail manager. As of July 2013, I was let go due to changes in the company. My youngest son is 20 years old and still lives at home, and due to the fact that I have not found a job, he has dropped out of college in order to support me. My other children are successful adults. My oldest son is a technology teacher at a local high school, and my daughter is 24 years old and recently purchased her first home. I have been looking for a job for 9 months, and I have not had one job offer. Interviews, assessments, and job fairs, not even a thank you. I'm getting ready to pack up my house and go live with my daughter because I don't have a choice. And I can't keep asking my children to help me when my kids have their own bills. The check that I was getting from unemployment was a huge help. I was able to contribute to my household and still feel like a productive adult. Please, please, please pass this bill so I can have my dignity back. Help the working class to keep their dignity and not to have to beg, borrow, or steal. We hear you, Felicia, and we stand with you. Thank you.
Vasu Reddy, National Partnership for Women and Families.
Good afternoon. I'm Vasu Reddy, and I'm a policy counsel with the National Partnership for Women and Families. I'm here today because the National Partnership knows that women and families are vital to this country's economic health. And when all it takes is one major life event, like losing your job, for everything to unravel, we need policies that will help people make ends meet when times are tough. I'm here to read Sandy's story from Fullerton, California. Due to the end of extended benefits, which I received only 1 week of, I've had to borrow money from my elderly parents that they saved for retirement. They are in their 70s, and they don't have much left for themselves. In addition, my sister offered to help as we were days away from being evicted from our apartment. My son had to drop out of Fullerton College in January to get a part-time job with Walmart because I couldn't take care of us anymore. I have sold all my jewelry, some of my furniture, canceled cable service. I have no gas in my car, no savings in the bank. My family is no longer in a position to help us, and we are again facing eviction once July gets here. There are days I don't even want to wake up, and when I do, I'm disappointed my breaking heart didn't kill me. I cry every day while my son is at work. We need jobs so bad. We hear you, Sandy, and we stand with you.
Amelia Kegan, Bread for the World.
I'm Amelia Kegan with Bread for the World, and I'm here today because as Christians working to end hunger, we believe parents should be able to provide for their kids and put food on the table when they're struggling for work. Emergency unemployment insurance acts as that lifeline. I'm going to read Heather's story from La Center, Washington. I have been unemployed for over a year after being laid off by my job in education. In this year, I have lost my car to repossession, have been forced to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and my mortgage is in a moratorium with past due payments, penalties, interest accruing that will need to be refinanced once I find work. I have had utilities shut off numerous times. I have sold almost everything I own through Craigslist and garage sales. I owe over $2,000 to friends and family. I have had to apply for food stamps after having gone from 146 pounds while working to a mere 109. I am one of millions of good, moral, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens that have fallen into the long-term unemployment statistic. I have lost nearly everything I have ever worked for over this past year, and now cannot even fund basic necessities for survival, let alone a job search. I am not unemployed by choice. Nobody in their right mind would choose this nightmare. This is a cry of desperation, and my only hope left is that a human being in a position of power with a sense of compassion will hear this and join us in our fight for survival by cutting through this bureaucratic rhetoric. I want nothing more than to rejoin the workforce. And that starts with being supported by the officials we elected to serve our best interests. The people cannot wait any longer. Heather, we hear your story. We stand with you.
Desiree Hoffman, YWCA.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Desiree Hoffman, Director of Advocacy and Policy at the YWCA USA. Our organization promotes policies that reduce racial inequality and promotes women's economic empowerment. And I'm here today to read a story by Lisa in Dayton, Massachusetts. I'm a single mom with a daughter who just turned sweet 16. I am 53 years old. My daughter is a good girl, and she's a very good student who deserves a sweet 16th birthday party. Well, you know that didn't happen. I was only just into my extension when they stopped the unemployment. Well, I searched around for jobs for a while and settled for an $8 an hour job, doing something so different than what I'm used to. I have bills, I have rent, I have lots of things to buy. I have a 16-year-old, and she's been telling me for weeks she needs a new pair of jeans because they were ripped. She got money for her birthday and she had to buy things she needed with that money instead of being able to buy something that she enjoyed. I stay home all the time to save money and any little that I have. I had a savings account and that is gone. We need your help. We hear your story, Lisa, and we stand with you.
All right.
Becky, Levin, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME.
I'm Becky Levin with AFSCME, and I'm here today to join with these leaders and women in Congress to urge Congress to extend emergency unemployment benefits for the men and women like Mary, whose story I'm going to share today. Women 55 and older experience the highest rates of long-term employment and the longest spells of unemployment. Here's Mary's story. I just started on Social Security and was working 3 days a week, and I needed to move to Salem to help with a family member. I was working at Fred Meyer in Tillamook for 2.5 years. I had interviewed at Salem Fred Meyer and was told I was on the top of the list for a transfer into the same department I was working. But no, I moved and no transfer, even though there are 3 stores, and my store manager called and told them I was a good employee. Well, now I cannot get a job as of yet, even though I've had 3 interviews. I'm 63 years old and have no job. I am single and I have no other help. I've worked all my life and never used government assistance for anything. I only get $138 in food stamps each month. Tell me how I'm to buy soap, medication, or anything else with no cash. Please find it in your hearts to help us who need it right now. Mary, we hear you and we stand with you.
I want to thank the members of Congress and advocates who came out today. I want to thank all of you for coming and standing with us. And I want to introduce Jessica Scheider from the Center for Effective Government, who is going to tell you what we're planning for next week, just in case Speaker Boehner hasn't gotten the message and voted on extending unemployment benefits before then. Jessica?
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Scheider, and I'm a policy associate at the Center for Effective Government. This is just one of 7 events that we're hosting this summer in this exact location. We welcome you to join us next week on June 25th for an event highlighting the impact of unemployment and long-term unemployment on veterans. I cannot thank with a warmer heart our partners, including the National Women's Law Center, the National Employment Law Project, and the Coalition on Human Needs for helping bring this all together, the National Women's Law Center for their incredible report released today documenting the impact of unemployment on women, as well as all of our guests here today, the many congressional offices, congressional leadership, the labor leaders, the faith leaders, the nonprofit leaders, who feel this issue really is so important as to come out on this 100-degree day in this heat to stand with the unemployed, because they do want to work. We hear their voices. You heard them today. We stand with them. Thank you all so much for coming.